Let us put our palms together. We respectfully invite Jiahhu Shifu to start the class. 3 half bows to Jiahhu Shifu.
1 half bow to the Buddha.
Ami Tuofu.
Okay, let us begin the class with 5 minutes of meditation. Okay, let us begin the class with the Sutra opening Gatha. Namo, Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo, Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo, Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered even in a million kalpas. Now we are able to hear, study, and follow it. May we fully realize the Tathagata's true meaning. Now, the sutra opening Gatha, the Gatha is a verse, kind of like a poem in Buddhism, but simpler. So the Gatha, this sutra opening verse is actually written by a famous Chinese empress. There's only one empress in Chinese history, a female emperor. She was a devoted Buddhist, and she wrote this verse it became a tradition to recite this before we study a Buddhist scripture. That is to prepare our mind, so we are in the right mental state. The Dharma is profound and subtle, so it takes mindfulness and concentration to study it, to understand it. It is rarely encountered in a million kalpas. A kalpa is a huge, a long time, like an eon. So we are able to encounter the Buddhist teaching is rare, and it's a blessing. Now we can hear, study, and follow it. If we think about it, Buddha taught it in a different language. It was translated into Chinese a couple thousand years ago, and now it's being translated into English from Chinese again. So now we are able to hear, study, and follow it. It took many, many miles and thousands of years and many people's effort to make this possible. So when we truly understand the Tathagata, the Buddha, the Buddha's true meaning. Okay, so we are studying the group 3 of the 51 mental factors, which are the 11 wholesome mental factors. And we already looked at faith, we've looked at diligence, and last class, we looked at shame and embarrassment. Remember, these two terms are used in a positive way, so they can become sort of our inner moral compass to guide us to do the right thing. And non-greed, non-anger, non-ignorance, these are the three wholesome roots. The root is the source, the foundation of a plant, right? So here, the three wholesome roots means that they are the foundation. They are the foundation of all that is good. So this is really important. Non-greed, non-anger, non-ignorance. Remember why they are translated this way. Non-greed, because it covers a whole range from not giving in to our greed and craving, which is kind of passive, right? To actively sharing with others, donations, giving, generosity, practicing generosity. That's also part of non-greed. Okay, non-greed, non-anger, and non-ignorance. These are the root of all that is good. Okay, and now today we're going to look at the next. There are 4 more in this 11 wholesome dharmas. So Let's look at number 8, which is serenity. Okay, what is serenity? Or sometimes it's translated as tranquility. Okay, serenity means lightness, in contrast to feeling heavy or burdened. So we can sometimes feel heavy. Our mind can feel heavy. Our body can feel heavy. Yeah. So it's the opposite of that. Our body and mind feels light, unburdened, and it feels peaceful and content. Its nature is that of keeping the gross and heavy far away, regulating and comforting body and mind, and making them fit for meditation, making the body and mind suitable, preparing the body and mind so that we can go deeper into the meditation. So serenity is important, a very important stage in serious meditation. Its activity is that of counteracting torpor and transforming the support. So counteracting torpor will feel lazy. We feel like procrastinating. We don't feel like doing anything. Okay. It overcomes that. And transform the support. Support refers to body and mind. Support, we view the body and mind as a support for our Buddhist cultivation, for our spiritual enlightenment. Okay. So it can transform our body and mind. It subdues and banishes the grossness and heaviness that obstruct samadhi and changes the support into one of serenity and pleasantness. So we already talked about samadhi earlier. Yeah. And it's one of the 5 particular specific mental factors. Here, the samadhi means a, a, a very deep state of meditative concentration. Okay? So to achieve a deep concentration, deep samadhi is not easy. It's not easy. It takes a lot of practice, overcoming some hindrances, some obstacles. And so serenity is part of that, path. When our body and mind can experience that serenity, it means that we are getting ready for deeper, enter into a deeper state of meditation. So serenity is a state wherein the body and mind leave the gross and heavy state of ordinary life and experience an unusual feeling of being unburdened, calm, and peaceful, free from torpor and drowsiness. So I think we all have felt at times really, really heavy and burdened and gross. Now, this serenity is kind of like the gateway or the bridge between our ordinary experiences and deeper meditative experiences. All right. So by ordinary experiences, I mean, the regular everyday life. We may experience happiness, joy. We may experience sadness, worry, anxiety, stress. We may feel kind of just neutral and nothing really positive or negative happening. And sometimes we may feel peaceful. We may feel calm. Maybe not often. Okay. So a lot of people practice meditation because they want to experience some calmness. They want to bring some peace into their mind. And certainly, Buddhist meditation can help us do that. So serenity here means it's a specific state where you feel calm and peaceful. But it's slightly more than the ordinary experience of feeling calm. Okay. So for example, on a Friday evening, when you finish your work and then the weekend is coming, you go home and then you have dinner and then you rest on your sofa, on your bed. Maybe you feel calm, right? That's an ordinary experience of feeling calm. But serenity here is an unusual feeling of being unburdened, calm, and peaceful, and peacefulness. Okay? So for people who meditate regularly, who makes meditation a habit, right? It is quite likely that they have experienced serenity. It may not happen every time. It may happen only occasionally when you meditate. But it is a little bit unusual. Unusual in the sense that it is a deeper experience of calmness, a deeper sense of peacefulness. Okay? So, as we continue to meditate, especially if you join a 3-day meditation retreat, a 7-day meditation retreat, or even longer meditation, intense meditation. That's something deeper. We'll talk about it soon. So you will know it when you experience this serenity because it is not an ordinary experience. But it's not too unusual either. It's kind of unusual in that it is unusually peaceful. It's kind of like the mind feels very still. Stillness of the mind. The mind is unmoving. And it's okay. It's very nice. It feels good. And when we feel calm and peaceful in an ordinary way, we tend to doze off, feel drowsy. The mind becomes, sleepy. But in this meditative, usually, mostly induced by meditation-induced serenity is nothing like that. The mind feels sharp, clear, awake, focused. Well, it's easy to focus. In this serenity state, it is easy to focus on what you want to focus on. It's easy to read a book and remain focused, easy to study your homework or school stuff. It's easy to meditate. It's easier to meditate without a lot of thoughts wandering all over the place. Your mind wandering all over the place. So you will experience the serenity as something definitely slightly unusual and quite good. It's very enjoyable in a very calm and peaceful way. So transforming the support. Support refers to body and mind, we said earlier. This is an important character of serenity. By removing the heaviness of body and mind, it gives us the capacity to go further into our meditation. Okay? It's like here's the ordinary experiences. Your feelings goes up and down. It's hot, it's cold, it's not hard, it feels comfortable, you feel at peace, you feel agitated, the ordinary experience. And here there's very deep, profound experience of samadhi through meditation. And in the middle, there's a gateway from ordinary experience to meditative experience. That gateway is serenity. Okay? So when you meditate, you will know it when you get to this state, because it's not an ordinary experience. So what that means is that through meditation, usually through meditation practice, you have removed uh, some obstacles like a mind that is too active. If your mind is overactive, is humming all the time, is thinking all the time, then you won't feel that, you won't experience that serenity. If you're anxious, if you're stressful, you won't, there's no serenity. If your mind is drowsy, sleepy, lazy, there's no serenity. Okay, so these are obstacles that you have got rid of, and your mind is clear and calm and focused. So it says serenity is like a lubricant for the rusty, overheated, rigid body and mind. So imagine a machine that's been working for many, many hours, and then the parts are getting rusty or rigid. So you apply some lubricant to the machine, to the gears, and then it can function smoothly and quietly again. So it's like a door, right? The door you open every day, and then it gets creaky, right? If there's a rust in the joints, you apply some WD-40, you apply some lubricant, and then the door becomes smooth, open and close smoothly. There's no sound, right? So in a similar way, serenity does that to our body and mind. We feel fine. We feel really nice. As well as a power source, filling the body and mind with power, joy, and hope. So when you experience that serenity, you feel that, hey, this meditation practice is hopeful. I could become good at this. Okay, so meditation is not easy. At the beginning, usually you struggle with thoughts, struggle with the body. Yeah, the body feels uncomfortable. But here, the body feels really comfortable. There's no issue with the pain in the leg and the soreness. I mean, you may still experience the soreness, and you may still have some pain in the joints, but it's okay. It's kind of strange. It's okay. They're there, but then it doesn't affect you. Your mind is peaceful. Okay. And so that leads to hope. You feel more hopeful in life, to face whatever you need to face. You feel more hopeful in your Buddhist practice, in your spiritual practice. You feel more hopeful that you can go deeper into the meditation experience. Okay. So some experience that serenity is of two kinds. Serenity of the body, which is associated with the first five consciousness. Remember the eye, ear, nose, or seeing and hearing, right? So seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touch, the body. Uh, so serenity of the body is when the body feels really comfortable. And that's something you will definitely notice in your meditation. Uh, when it goes from trying to stay still, trying to not slouch, trying to, sit firm, try to endure the discomfort, and suddenly or gradually, there's no discomfort anymore. The discomfort dissipates, and the body feels really fine. Not only fine, but it also feels light. So that's the serenity of the body. It's associated with the first 5 consciousness, mainly the body consciousness. And serenity of mind, which is associated with the 6th consciousness. So remember, the 6th consciousness is the main thinking and feeling faculty. So you think, you feel. Now, if you reflect on your whole day today in California, we are 7 o'clock, 7:30, right? So starting from 6, 7, 8, or whenever you get up, until now, it's been more than 10 hours. In those 10 hours, what did your 6th consciousness experience? What did you do? Did you have to work really hard? Did you have some time to relax? Are you worried about something? Are you feeling stressed about some deadline? Are you getting overwhelmed by housework and family and kids? So serenity of the mind is mostly associated with the 6th consciousness. The 6th consciousness feels nice. Your mind feels nice. Some argue that prashrabdi or serenity only exists in meditative absorption, in a deep samadhi, meditative concentration. And so that before one achieves samadhi, there can only be a semblance of serenity. So remember, we're saying that here are the ordinary experiences. Here is the meditative, profound meditative experience. And serenity is somewhere in the middle. But some people believe that real serenity you can only experience here in deep samadhi. Okay? But I feel but it's also common to explain serenity as something before that. Okay, it's a gateway into deeper experiences. And serenity experience after one achieved the unconditioned state is more profound and subtle compared to serenity experience while in the conditioned state. So the 100 Dharmas, do you remember the 100 Dharmas when we begin? We say the 100 Dharmas, and then we go on and talk about the 5 classes of 100 Dharmas. Only the last one, the 5th class, is the unconditioned Dharma, the enlightened state, the nirvana state. Okay, but most of our experiences are happening in the conditioned state. So you can experience samadhi, you can experience serenity in a conditioned state. That means before you get enlightened, before you achieve nirvana. So you can experience serenity. Okay. But if you have become fully enlightened, if you have reached nirvana, then that serenity you experience is so deep and profound that there's no words for it. Okay. All right, so that's our introduction to serenity. I have a few questions for us to think about. Question: have you experienced heaviness of body? Under what circumstances? And how do you deal with it? Can meditation help? Have you experienced heaviness of mind? Under what circumstances? How do you deal with it? Can meditation help? And 3, have you experienced a serenity from meditation? Describe your experience in your cultivation journal. So Shifu encourage you to keep a journal regarding your spiritual practice, regarding your studying of the Dharma, okay? Your self-reflection. So if you have experienced serenity or you think it is serenity, try to reflect on it and try to describe that experience to yourself. Why? Because it is kind of a mark, a milestone, a mark, important mark, important post in our meditation practice. Reflect on the process. Can you repeat it? And it will be really good if we can repeat this experience, meaning that from an ordinary state of body and mind, through meditation, we must be doing something right to get to serenity. But serenity happens only occasionally, maybe 1 out of 10 times, even if you're a regular meditator, right? So why does it happen that time and not the other 9 times? If you can figure out what were the exact steps that you took to get to serenity, you may be able to eventually figure out how to reliably get to serenity and deeper in your meditation. Okay? So it's kind of like you are learning to play the piano. Okay, so you learn this song, this particular piece of music. So you play it, but you don't play it that well because you're not familiar with it. You're training your fingers and the positions, right? And finally, you learn how to play this song. But then it doesn't mean you can play well. Doesn't mean you can play beautifully. So you practice every day, you practice 10 times, 20 times every day. And then once or twice out of that 10, 20 times, the whole song, the whole music flows beautifully. You play really well that time. But then the next time you try to repeat it, you can't. Because your fingers don't completely listen to your will yet, right? You haven't built that muscle memory or whatever skill set. So occasionally you play the piece really beautifully, but you haven't figured out why. So you cannot repeat it. It happens occasionally, kind of by luck. But then as you continue to practice and practice and practice and practice, maybe a month later, maybe 3 months later, you can play beautifully every time. So somehow you have figured out you're getting enough experience so that you know how to reliably play that piece with skill and feeling. Okay? So that's kind of similar in any kind of skill, right? Like playing basketball to make the loop, make the hoop, or playing baseball, trying to hit the ball, playing golf. At first, you get lucky. You haven't figured out how to reliably uh, play the way you want to. So meditation is similar, except maybe harder. Because we're dealing with the mind. We're trying to bring the mind into a very calm and still and clear mental state, the state of samadhi. And before that, we experience serenity, which is close, But we don't know how to reliably, how to repeatedly get to that state. So when you do occasionally experience serenity, an unusual calmness that's really satisfying. If you can figure out, if you can get some hint, some pointers, some what you did to get there, and you try to repeat it, repeat the conditions, recreate the conditions so that you can get to that serenity, then one day you will be able to reliably, to repeatedly, maybe not 1 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10 times, you can get to a deeper, serene state and even a samadhi state, okay, with higher rate of success. When you can do that, life becomes really hopeful. You feel with a calm energy, a you experience, you feel that you have the potential. You have the potential and the power to achieve what you want to achieve. That's what serenity can bring out, a sense of satisfaction, a sense of hope, a sense of joy, and life is not so hard anymore. So to experience serenity is definitely a higher quality of life. So for people who regularly practice Buddhist meditation, and regularly and skillfully means that they can enter samadhi, they can enter serenity or even samadhi repeatedly. The quality of life is completely different. It's not that they don't face challenges. They still face the challenges that everybody has. They still, uh, may face a lot of work, a lot of responsibility, a lot of deadline. But the mental state is different. They can return to that serenity inside when they get tired, exhausted, and they will feel refreshed again. So earlier, a few years earlier, I was the abbot of Sanrio Zen Center of Sunnyvale. I was there for almost 20 years. Yeah, 93 to, yeah, almost 20 years. And the schedule in the Zen Center is really quite busy. We have about 10 classes a week. I personally teach maybe six of them or maybe more. And there's other ceremonies and personal consultation and so on, this and that, administration. So it's quite busy. And then, over the year, January, February until December, you can get burned out. But at the end of the year, I returned to Taiwan, and there's a 7-day meditation retreat for the shifus, for the monks and nuns. And that 7-day meditation retreat always recharged me for the whole year. You feel refreshed. You feel the burnout has dissipated, and you feel you can go on another year again. Okay, so now I'm on my own. I purposely plan my schedule so that it's not so busy, and I have more time to meditate and more time to study the Dharma on my own. Now, a lot of people don't have that luxury to plan your own schedule, right? So that makes it even more important that you allocate time for meditation. Because if you practice Buddhist meditation regularly, let's say half an hour will be good, an hour a day will be great. Half an hour, I would say, is minimum to get somewhere with your. If you meditate for less than half an hour a day, if you do like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you are kind of like taking medicine for a sick body. You take some medicine and then it helps you. It helps you, but then it doesn't cure the disease. You're always in a state of being sick. But then that you take that little bit of medicine to sustain you so it doesn't degrade. The illness doesn't get worse so fast. You slow down. But if you meditate for half an hour effectively, half an hour a day, then you will have a chance. You have a chance to experience that serenity occasionally, to know that, oh, this is real. This is not just theory. You can actually experience something different from the ordinary life. That deep, satisfying stillness of the mind is actually within reach. So it's kind of like if you meditate half an hour a day, uh, every day, you may be able to get to a balance, between the stress of everyday life, the stress of ordinary everyday life, and enough medicine to help you maintain a reasonably healthy body and mind. Of course, if you do more, you're not just preventing you from getting sick. You can become healthier, more powerful, more stronger. Know what I'm saying? Okay. So, have you experienced heaviness of body or heaviness of mind? Under what circumstances? How do you deal with it? How about we open the chat room, right? Let's take a few minutes to look at this. Want to share what circumstances do you feel really heavy, whether it's body or mind? What makes you feel heavy? And if you want to share how you deal with it. Do you have anybody? Hello? Okay, somebody's saying, okay. Heaviness of mind, I feel this on days when I'm not diligent about meditation. Okay, so sounds like you try to do daily meditation, and when you skip a day, then you feel heaviness of mind. Okay, okay. So when there are a lot of things on my to-do list, right? When there's a lot of things on your to-do list, who doesn't? Don't we all have a lot of things on the to-do list? It's just that some people don't seem to remember their to-do list that well, so they are less stressed. If you're the type of person who remember everything on your to-do list, then you may get quite stressed, right? So how do you deal with that? You know, when there's a lot of things on your to-do list. Is it possible? Is it possible to have a lot of things you need to do, but you don't feel stressed? You don't feel heavy? Is it possible? Anybody? How do you deal with the heaviness of mind or body? No? No answer? No idea? Okay. When I am around negative people, I feel heaviness of body and mind. I need meditation. Okay. So somebody said when I'm around negative people, yes, negative people with negative thinking, negative view can really drag the people around them down, right? Do we have a good way to deal with that besides getting away from these negative people? Probably everybody has somebody around them who make them feel dragged down, right? You know somebody in your life. So how do you deal with that? Uh, Besides just, okay, I want to get away. If you cannot get away, okay, let's see. It is possible, but it takes a lot of mental conditions to master the art of letting go. Okay, so it is possible to not feel heavy even when you have a lot to do, but it takes a lot of mental conditioning to master the art of letting go. Okay, okay. Do you know? Let me ask you this question. Do you know somebody in your life who seems to be able to handle a lot of things, who seems to do a lot of things, but they seem to be quite well. Day after day after day, they just do it and continue full of energy. They don't seem to get stressed out. They seem to do like 5 times more than others. Do you know somebody like that? There are people like that, right? So it is possible. It is possible. For me, I see my Shifu, Grandmaster Wei Jie, he's he's probably 20-hour days. You know, you rarely see him rest. He seems he's around early morning till late night. Seems like 20 hours out of a 24-hour day, day after day after day, year after year after year. But he's always calm. He's always calm. And no matter how big the issue is, he seems to be in control, right? So it's possible. And of course, meditation is the key. Letting go of outcomes and focus on the task. Okay, that's a good advice. Letting go of outcomes and focus on the task. So they are things you need to do, right? What happens, one of the reasons that these things stress us is because we're worried about the outcome. We're worried about how it turns out. We're worried about what if it doesn't come out as we expect, as we want it to be. And we are afraid, we get stressed, we get anxious, right? So letting go of the outcome and focusing on it. So the person who is less stressed tend to be able to focus on the task, right? So this is what I need to do. So I do it. And if it's a complicated thing, I break it down into small parts, right? Small steps. So I focus on one step at a time. I do this, I do this, I do. They just focus on the work. You know, all of you have been to school. You have taken exams, right? Final exams. You should have this experience, right? You do the best when you are able to just simply focus on the how to solve the problem instead of worrying about what grade you're gonna get on the test, right? If you simply focus on the work, on what you need to do at each step, then there is no stress. There is no stress. So this is a story that I told a few times. Many years ago, I was just a young monk. I was maybe 30, just maybe 2, 3 years after I became a monk. So I was in my early 30s. I went with Shifu, Grandmaster, to New York to conduct. The master was conducting a 7-day retreat. And then on this trip, we invited to visit this family, this mother and a daughter. This daughter is a Chinese girl. She just won a international piano competition. I forget which one it is. I think it's the Pukolovich piano competition. So she won that competition, and she's the first Chinese uh, and the youngest to won that international prestigious competition, piano. So and the family is Buddhist too. So I got to meet this young woman. She's maybe only 20 something at the time. So I asked her, what was it like when you played that winning piece, at the final competition, when you play that piece that won that make you won the competition? And she said, 师傅, I don't know. As soon as she sat down on the stool in front of the piano, she doesn't remember anything. And the next thing she realized was she completed the piece, and then she got a standing ovation from the audience. So what happened was she so completely focused on the playing itself. There was no room to think about I and how well I would do. And will I be able to play well? Will I be able to do my best? All the idea about I is gone. The ego self is gone. And so when the ego self is gone, there's no stress. There's just simply moment by moment by moment. So each moment she was completely focused on the test, on the piano playing, and so that she doesn't remember anything. It's almost kind of like a samadhi, a deep meditative experience. So she completed, and it's in that state where the I disappears. It's I worrying about how well I play. When the I disappears, you do your best. Because all of your energy is focused on what you should be doing. Okay? All right, let's continue to look at the chat room. Constant negative political drama. Yeah, there's a constant negative political drama right here in the States and probably on many places in the international stage as well. So stop looking at the news. You know, this kind of thing happens and there's not much we can do about it. So just ignore the news. You know, if the world blows up, it blows up. When my body feels heavy, I go for a walk in the outdoors. Yes. Taking a walk, going in for a hike, being with nature is very relaxing, super relaxing. It can help dissipate your stress. Okay, so most people live in the city now. It's really a good idea to get out of the city to get more in touch with nature. To when I was living in Colorado in the last few years, I only returned to California last year, March last year. So before that, during the COVID years, I was in Colorado, and there's always trails everywhere in Colorado. So you can always go hiking within like a 20-minute drive, sometimes a 5-minute drive, or maybe a 10-minute walk. A lot of other places to be with nature. So it's really, and there's something about the fresh air. Something about the fresh air that can invigorate you. Okay? I know because I'm living right here in the Prajna Forest Monastery. It's a forest. Right now the frogs are calling. I don't know if you can hear the frogs. We have the noise filter on, so you may not be able to hear. But the frogs were really loud when we started the class, and then it got quiet for a few weeks, and last couple of weeks it start calling again. Right now, there's a lot of frogs out there. But being in the forest, just just with the greens and the fresh air is so super. You just feel um, you just feel wonderful. So I hope you get to visit the monastery, or at least go be with nature. Putting toes in grass is really helpful sometimes. Putting toes in grass. Do you mean like walking barefoot in grass? There's actually uh, a healing um, a healing method, walking barefoot on natural ground, on natural earth, like walking on grass. If you do that for half an hour a day under the sun, uh, it's supposed to be able to draw the toxins out of your body. But I'm not a doctor or I'm not an expert in that. Okay, just a lot of people believe in that, and I try to do that when I can too. Sometimes you can't get away from those negative people. You have to try and be compassionate for their negativity. Okay, so the reason that negative people stress us out. Let's examine this a little bit. Why do negative people bring us down? Because their actions, their words, right? Their words. Um, and also because we take their words seriously. We take their words seriously. We take them seriously. Okay. Uh, Here is an example that I told a few times too. A few years ago, one of our students, one of Shifu's students, uh, she had a consultation with me. She said she was living with her mother. She's taking care of her mom. She has a daytime job, but her mom was really, really bringing her down, really stressing her out. She wants to be a good daughter. She wants to take care of her mom, but the mom is so negative, complaining all the time and demanding things from her, demanding impossible things from her. An example was the mother wanted to have a house of her own, so she paid for a house for her mom. But the mom wants to live with her because she's getting old. She needs taken care of. Okay, so they got a house and still paying the mortgage, but then the mom is so insecure. She want the daughter to buy another house. She's constantly on her case, and then she feels so stressed, and they get into arguments frequently. So when she came to Shifu, I listened to her and I told her, um, don't take your mom's words seriously. I don't mean to ignore your mom, but don't take her words seriously because when people get old, when people get really old, um, it's sometimes they feel really insecure because they're losing their physical strength, you know, and and they're losing their grips on life. When you're young, when you're younger, when you're strong, you feel like you're more in control. But the older you get, you begin to feel that you're losing control on life, right? So then it can feel insecure. And then for a parent, one of their insecurity may be from their children not wanting to take care of them, right? So when you get old and sick, what happens if your children don't take care of you? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? So that may be a main source of insecurity for them. And there's no resolution because no matter, even though the daughter is already living with her and trying to take care of her, the insecurity is still there. It's irrational. When we get older, these irrational things get hold of us, right? So it's so important that before you get that old, you practice meditation. You learn to calm yourself. You learn to calm yourself. You learn to get this clear mind so that you don't let this restless stress and emotion take control of you. All right. So anyway, when people get older, they lose control of and slowly they lose control of their rational judgment that may happen. So they get taken over by their emotions, this insecurity. That was my guess. And then so she thought, and the way she wants to get some control is to demand things from her daughter. She thinks that the way I can feel more secure is that she always listens to me. She does whatever I tell her to do. This happens a lot. But the irony is that the more you make these demands, trying to have control, the more you drive them away, right? The more you demand them, you try to control them, the more your children want to get away. So the daughter is really stressed, and she doesn't want to desert her mother, but then she's driving her crazy. So I told the daughter, don't take your mom seriously. She wants you to buy another house for her, right? And so she gets really stressed because one, this is irrational. Why do we need another house? And two, I don't have the money. So she gets stressed. She gets stressed because she takes it seriously. There's no reason for her to buy another house for her. And she doesn't have the means to do that either. So this is totally irrational, impractical. You don't need to take that demand seriously at all. You just ignore that demand. By ignoring the demand doesn't mean that you ignore your mother. You can deal with it in a different way. So I make some suggestions. Why don't you, whenever next time your mom wants you to buy another house, you say, Mom, try to play humorously. Mom, I love to do that. It would be great for another house. But look, here's my paycheck, and here's the mortgage, and here's the car insurance, and here's the medical bills. Uh, why don't you figure out for me? If we can figure out, how we can get the money, then we'll buy another house for you. So when the demand doesn't deserve to be taken seriously, don't deal with it seriously. Deal with it with humorously. Take it lightly. Okay? Don't get into a conflict. Just play it like a joke. Play it lightly. So I had experience with that with my own mother. When I became a vegetarian before I was a monk, my mom was really worried about me not getting enough nutrients. This Chinese mom had this uh, 1,000-year-old uh, fear of not having enough to eat, right? Not getting enough nutrients. So she said, "You gotta eat some meat." I said, "No, I don't want to eat meat." Well, at least eat some eggs. I don't want to eat eggs. So we always get into an argument with that. So I would search the data and research papers, present the the scientific uh, data to her, said to being a vegetarian, you can be perfectly healthy, you can get the nutrients. You don't have to worry. So when I explain the scientific findings, she doesn't listen at all. My mom would not listen. It just go right past her. Okay. So every time I get frustrated because I would think, in terms of what is rational, what is logical, and she doesn't. She just choose not to listen. She choose to believe that I am not getting enough nutrients by being vegetarian. So we always get into arguments. So after a few times, I thought, this is not very Buddhist. I'm not being a good Buddhist, right? Arguing with my mom for being for doing my part of my Buddhist practice. Oh, so that's not very Buddhist at all. So I try to figure out another way. And so the way I figure out is don't take her seriously. Whenever she says on the phone, you gotta eat more meat, you gotta eat some eggs. Okay, 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 okay. You say, okay, 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 okay. You can see when I say okay, she cannot continue. She cannot say anything because I already said okay. She knows I'm not serious, but she cannot go on with this conversation anymore. If I come back, if I go back at her, if I argue with her, then we can go on for endlessly until we get into a big argument, right? But so I just say, okay. So the topic ends there. So then we start talking about something else. And then we have good conversation, right? So we don't argue anymore. Next time I visit her in person, she was cooking some vegetarian meal for me, right? So that's one thing. Some things, some things in life, don't take it too seriously because what's the most serious thing? The most serious thing is you die, right? When you die, you take another life, you get reborn, and it starts over. What's the big deal? What is the big deal? What if you lose your job? You lose your job, you lose your job. Before you get your first job, you didn't have a job, right? So what's the big deal? Hmm? So don't worry too much. Focus on what you need to do one step at a time, right? And the negative people, if you can get away, uh, Sifu already talked about it before, right? You think about their conditions. what make them this way, they are not able to control themselves either. If they cannot control themselves with these negative views, why should we take it seriously? You can still have compassion. See, this is when someone says, don't take them seriously, don't take these words seriously, doesn't mean you don't have compassion for them, right? You can still have compassion for them. You can still care about them. You just don't get trapped into these useless arguments or useless debates or useless demands. Okay, walking meditation helps me. Yes, walking meditation is really, really helpful. So I really strongly recommend everybody to do some walking meditation. But walking meditation, you can walk in your room, you can walk in your yard, if you can walk in a nearby park. And the key is when you walk, you don't try to think about your work. You don't try to think about, those things that stress you. You simply breathe. You simply breathe and focus on the walking. So there's a Buddha saying, wherever you are, that's where you should be. So even when you're walking, your mind is in the present and you focus on each step. You focus on each step, you are aware of the whole body and you walk like this, step by step. You're not walking to get somewhere. You're not walking to figure out a problem. No, you're letting all that go for 10, 15, 20 minutes. You're just walking. You're just simply walking, being present, being with your body and mind. Okay? That's really healing. That is a very healing process. So Shifu already told us the strategy to cope. When eating, eat. When resting, rest. Yes. So in last year's Chinese Zen Master class, stories of great Zen Masters, there was a koan, a dialogue. A disciple asked Zen Master, Chinese Zen Master, what do you do after you get enlightened? The master says, when you're hungry, you eat. When you're sleepy, you sleep. So the disciple says, but isn't that everybody does? The master says, no. When people eat, they don't eat. When people sleep, they don't sleep. Right? Isn't that you? Isn't that us? When was the last time you simply ate? Instead of eating and talking and eating and reading and eating and looking at at your phone? When was the last time you completely focused on each bite for the whole meal? Just being present, just chewing, eating, swallowing, being present. When you do that, eating becomes a meditation. And that can help you alleviate your stress. Something simple like that. Applying the wisdom of impermanence, this too shall pass. Yes, impermanence, things will pass. Remember something that was really big that got you really worried or really stressed 10 years ago and 20 years ago? If you look at it now, is it a big deal? Remember how it was such a big deal at the time? And now you look at it 10 years later, yeah, no big deal, right? And whatever you're facing now, you think it's a really big deal. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it's gonna be like this. Play or listen to music. Music can heal where medicine fails. Yeah, music can music can heal. When my mind feels heavy, I take a nap. Take a nap helps. Take a nap definitely helps. Okay? And if you have the luxury, then sleep whenever you want to sleep. Sleep whenever you want, you feel tired. Whenever you want to take a nap, take a nap. And wake up naturally. If your schedule allow you to do that, or at least on the weekends, don't worry about what time it is. If you feel tired, go take a nap. When you wake up, do whatever. If you wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, you get up 3 o'clock in the morning. Don't worry. If you feel like you want to sleep at 7 p.m., go to sleep at 7 p.m. Just do it. Your body is telling you something. Listen to it. Doing Tai Chi and yoga are very helpful too, with mindfulness and meditation. Yes, Tai Chi and yoga are really helpful. They are slow exercises that help lubricate the body, help relax the mind too. And both Tai Chi and yoga have spiritual roots. They come from spiritual roots. They're part of spiritual practice, not just the physical exercise, right? Most people who practice yoga now, they don't realize that, because in the West, yoga has become simply a form of physical exercise. But in India, where it comes from, it comes from the Yogacara. Yoga means the meditators. They're the spiritual. It's a spiritual practice. It's a different from Buddhism, but it's a spiritual practice. Okay. And Tai Chi too. So the Chinese martial arts, Tai Chi, Kung Fu, they actually are an integration of body and mind. At the core, they are integration of body and mind. So Tai Chi is a very slow form of exercise, and it forces you. It forces you to be mindful of the whole body, to do the Tai Chi moves correctly. So that's actually a really good way to do whole body awareness in motion. Okay, let's return to our class, to our material. Let's look at the next one, vigilance. Oh, one more thing I want to say. Have you experienced serenity from meditation? Describe your experience in your cultivation journal, but no need to share with others. No need to share your own personal meditation experience with others. That's usually discouraged. Okay? If you have some meditative experience that you wonder about, that you need guidance, you should talk to Shifu. Don't talk to each other, because there are some side effects. For example, some people may have a deep experience and start telling people, "Oh, I got this samadhi and I was able to do this," and then they may fall into uh, false telling without them knowing it. Okay, and because meditation experience is very personal, so usually you don't want to share with the world. Okay, vigilance is the ninth wholesome factor. So vigilance, or sometimes translated as heedfulness. Vigilance is a combination of the three wholesome roots. Remember the three wholesome roots? Non-greed, non-anger, non-ignorance. And diligence. Diligence, remember, is another of the wholesome factors. So these wholesome factors, they can combine to form what seems like a new mental state. So vigilance is one such one. Its nature is to avoid what is to be avoided and to cultivate what is to be cultivated. That means avoid the bad karma stuff, cultivate the good karma stuff. Its activity is to counteract indulgence or negligence. and to realize and fulfill our mundane and transcendent good. Okay? Its activity that means its effect is to counteract indulgence. So, people who are indulgent, or we are indulgent in certain areas, right? So vigilance is kind of like the alarm, the gatekeeper, the watcher who keeps a watch on our thoughts and behavior, so we don't go astray. We don't indulge in what we don't want to indulge in. We don't become negligent. So it's part of that mindfulness there. Okay. Vigilance is the well guarding of the mind, so it doesn't become negligent or indulgent. Vigilance brings out the proactive side of the three wholesome roots by coupling them with diligence. So here is the nature of vigilance. Remember the three wholesome roots? Non-greed. Non-greed is there's a whole wide range of things called non-greed, right? It can be just not giving into greed, not giving into when you see a donut, you can say, okay, I'm not gonna buy that donut, I'm not gonna eat that donut, it's not good for me. I'm gonna stop right there. So that's a form of non-greed, right? But to be proactive with non-greed is to uh, share your resources, share your belongings, share your money with others, making donations, being generous, right? So that's also non-greed. So the proactive part of the three wholesome roots is brought up by diligence in a certain way called vigilance. So specifically to keep the mind on the path. So diligence, you can apply diligence in many ways. You can be diligent in your studies. You can be diligent in your physical exercise. You can be diligent in going to work every day, going to school every day. Uh, you can be diligent in your Buddhist practice. Say you're committed to half an hour of meditation a day, right? So vigilance is that form of diligence. The diligence combined with the three good roots. So you may say, okay, I want to do an hour of Buddhist practice every day. Half an hour I meditate, half an hour I study the Dharma. I review the Hundred Dharma class. I review the Chinese Zen master stories of Zen master class. I review the Heart Sutra, whatever. Okay, so that will be my Buddhist 1 hour Buddhist practice every day, and you keep at it. So when you're doing this is a form of vigilance. Uh, Diligence applied to the three roots. So to keep the mind on the path, it is crucial for achieving our goals. Yeah. So when you're doing the meditation, you're not just sitting there for half an hour and dozing off. If you sit for half an hour every day, but you're mostly dozing off, is that vigilance? It's not, right? Okay. So you're sitting there in meditation, and even though sometimes you may struggle with the thoughts running wild, sometimes you may struggle with the drowsiness, but mostly you try to do a good job. You try to maintain that present mind. Then over time, you will experience serenity. So if your vigilance is on an hour of meditation a day, and you do it, and you're vigilant about it, you're mindful about it, then sooner or later you're going to experience serenity and even deeper samadhi. So it's crucial for achieving our goals. If you're an engineer and then you have a problem you need to solve, right? Vigilance means you're working on it, your mind is on it, you're thinking about the possibilities, you're looking at why is this not working, right? And you try different things, and you finally figure out how to solve the problem. That's vigilance. Non-vigilance, the opposite of vigilance is heedlessness. You're careless. So you're an engineer, you have a problem, you say, I can figure it. You try for 10 minutes, you say, I can figure this out. Somebody will figure this out. The sky's not gonna fall, so what's the big deal? That's not vigilant, right? So when we are procrastinating, feeling lazy, or wanting to give up, yet we know we should be diligent, what are ways to bring the mind to vigilance? So there are times when we feel lazy, when we want to procrastinate, we want to put off, or even want to give up. Yet we know we should do this. This is not good. We need to work hard. So it's 7 o'clock. So, oh, it's a Hundred Dharma class. But I really want to take a nap. Oh, I really want to go watch that thing on the Netflix. What brings you here? What brings you here week after week? Yeah, and paying attention to this 2 hours. That's vigilance, right? So, want to share your experience, how you force yourself or discipline yourself when you feel lazy and you should be working? Do you have tips to share with each other? Recollection of death. This is actually a real Buddhist practice, and that is to think, I'm going to die tomorrow. Today is my last day. If today is your last day, how are you going to live your day? So this is not being morbid, okay? This is actually a real Buddhist practice, is to, you wake up in the morning and think, this is the last day I may live. So what are you gonna do? Obviously, you're gonna do what you think is the most important. Well, if it's the most important, why did you put it off? Yeah. So this kind of shocks you into what is the true priority in life. Okay. Um, I believe that there was a period of time that Steve Jobs also practiced this. Uh, but before, but he got it from most likely got it from a Buddhist master. So Buddhist master, there are well-known Buddhist master who practice this. I remind myself why I started the practice in the first place. No pains, no gain. No pain, no gain, right? So you got to go through some difficulties. So when I remind myself of why I started the practice in the first place, that's called the beginner's mind. The beginner's mind is, why did you start with the Buddhist practice in the first place? What draw you into Buddhism or meditation or Zen? You were seeking something. You were looking for something, right? So for me, for Shifu, I was looking for something in my life. What is meaningful for 8 years? You know, after college, I looked for it for 8 years until I found out what I wanted, and then I became a monk at 30. Okay, so it may take many years. What got you into Buddhism? What brought you into this class in the first place? What brought you to know Shifu in the first place? Shifu said everyone can get enlightened in this lifetime if we work hard enough. Yes. My Shifu told me that. My Shifu told us that you can get enlightened. That means awakened to your true nature. Awakened to your true nature. It is possible in this life. But it's like working for a PhD. Working for a PhD, what does it take? It takes usually 7 years, 6 years, maybe even longer of devotion, day after day after day, right? Those of you who have worked on a PhD, you will know. Day after day after day, day and night, your mind is thinking about whatever your PhD is, your PhD work for years. And it's something similar to that. But when you're willing to commit that, then it's possible. Don't decide again and again whether to attend class. You already decided to go, yeah. So decide to go and you follow through. Because some people have that personality. When they decide to do something, they commit to it and they will go. They don't think about it again. It's the people who will think, should I do this? Should I go? Should I attend this time? Should I attend this week? Is it okay to skip 1 week? When you wonder about that, then you won't succeed, right? I encounter this often. What often works for me is to sit down and focus on starting the most important tasks. Once I get started, I can typically finish. Yeah. So remember your priorities, right? There are many kinds of tips about how to make a list at the beginning of the day and pick the only top one or top three things. Ignore everything else. Just make a list in the order of importance at the beginning of the day. And then you only focus on the first one and the second one and maybe the third one. And then forget the rest. So if your to-do list is very long, you need to order it. Top one, top two, top three, and you just do that. When you finish that top three, you'll feel good. You'll feel good that day. It needs vigilance to reach the Buddhahood. Right. Vigilance is needed for Buddhahood, for sure. 5 Buddhist recollections. I am of the nature to grow old. There's no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There's no way to escape having ill health. Yeah. So we will grow old, whether you like it or not. We will get sick, whether we like it or not. I will die, whether we like it or not. There's no way to escape, even though death is not the end. Okay, but we will go through death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love of the nature to change. That's impermanence. Everything you love, everybody you love will leave you. Everybody you love will leave you. Eventually, isn't that true? My actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequence of my own actions. My actions are the ground upon which I stand. Okay? So the only thing that will follow you is your karma. So karma is your action, right? If you what you do, let's say the things you learn. Say the things you learn in this class that you can remember without looking at notes, right? You remember. It's imprinted, carved in your mind, in your eighth consciousness. If it's there, then it will follow you. It will follow you from this lifetime to the next lifetime. Okay? So what you put into your mind is important. What you put into your mind is important. Of course, you can shuffle it. You can change it. You can wash it out, right? So we put in some stupid things, stupid ideas, habits in our mind, but we can change. We can change. So brainwash yourself with the pure karma, with the things that's worthy, the things that will bring you serenity and samadhi and nirvana and joy. Once a time, times for a task or action is set and that time arrives, just do it without asking yourself whether you feel like it on any given day. Okay? Question yourself leaves you open to find reasons to not proceed. Yes. So let's say you set a time to do something, and when the time is here, you just do it. Don't give yourself the choice. Just do it. All right, these are the people who get things done. These are the people who get things done. Right? When you question. Well, I mean, you can question for sure. But then when it's time to do it, when you commit, when you want to do it, when you need to do it, and you still question, then that's a waste of time. Right? We just find excuses. Remember, when you're finding excuses to not do something what you need to do, it's not you that's talking. It's the ego self. It's the self comprising of greed, anger, ignorance. It's the ego self talking. It's not the you talking. Reset. Help reset the sixth consciousness that's trying to take over. And the sixth consciousness easily give in to greed and anger, ignorance, and temptations. But in meditation, you have a chance to reset, to reboot, to start to the knowing mind, a blank slate, the knowing mind. A knowing mind is a clear mind, and then you can shine on what your life is at, where your life is at. Okay? Okay, we have two more. We'll finish that next week. Equanimity, which is a deeper state than serenity. And number 11, the last one, which is non-harm. Okay, and then we'll finish the 11 wholesome dharmas. That will complete this 8-week course. And in the end of June, we'll start another 8-week course to continue on the 100 dharmas. The next group will be the afflictions or the things, the mental state that causes us to do bad karma. Okay, so there are 26 of them, a lot more than the wholesome dharmas. So we need to study them to help us reflect on ourselves. Okay, all right. So we have time for questions. If you have any questions, feel free to write or comment in the chat box. Why don't we? But there's an exercise. I provided exercise for this the whole 11 wholesome dharmas. There's a lot of questions. Let's look at one of them. Okay, let's look at this number 12 here. Examine your triggers. What situations or behaviors easily trigger you, make you emotional? List 5 things. What Dharma teachings can help improve your non-anger score toward these 5 things? So some situations or some people or some things push your button, make you emotional immediately. What are some of these things? Share with us, and we can discuss what Dharma can help us deal with that so that they don't trigger you anymore. They return us to the non-greed and non-anger. How about that? A trigger, when I see someone punching down like a lead, speaking poorly to a junior instead of handling a problem with grace and humor. Okay, so we have leaders, people on a higher position, just yelling or blaming or being really rude and rough on on somebody below them, their rank, right? So that can trigger you. Of course, a good leader will be able to handle with grace and humor, right? So actually, learning how to be a good leader, I think, leadership, I think is a really good, important lesson because everybody is a leader in one way or another. When you become a parent, you are a leader to your children. Yeah. When you work, people who work for you, who work below you, you are a leader to them. Yeah. So everybody needs that leadership. Now, Buddha will be a good example of a great leader. There is a business book called From Good to Great. Anybody heard of that book? From Good to Great. It was written by a Stanford business professor. They studied, he and his co-author, they studied the Fortune 500 companies and picked out about a dozen companies who fit a specific description. They were mediocre companies. And then during a period of years, they shoot up to become a top-notch leader in their field. And then maintain that for a few years at least. So this kind of this curve. They were mediocre, and then they become really, really good, top of their field, and then they maintain that position for quite a few years. So they picked out these companies. There's only a dozen or so from the Fortune 500. And then they studied the key period where they went from mediocre to become a top-notch company. And they studied who the leader was during that period. The leader who led the company to become top-notch. And what kind of leadership qualities they had. It's a really good book. I recommend people to read it, From Good to Great. And part of that book talk about the 5 levels of leadership. 5 levels of leadership. So this question, when you say the leader who punches down on the inferiors, who blame them, who yell at them, these are the lowest level, right? The lowest level leader. As you get better and better, the top level 5 leader, all the 12 or so companies, their leaders have those characteristics. Okay. And when I read that, I was really surprised because all these level 5 leader qualities are quite Buddhist. One of them is these leaders, these CEOs who led the company to become real, top-notch. They don't really care that much about luxury. They maybe drive a beat up 20-year-old Ford vehicle. They don't show up in the Rolls Royce or whatever. They're quite content with that. Right? They don't show up. So in other words, drive them to become really good. It's not the money. It's not the profit. It's simply being good. Being really good in what you do. That's what drives them. The desire to be the best. That's one quality. Another quality is, so a corresponding to Buddhism would be, if you can be a Buddha, why be anything less? As a person, if you can be the fully enlightened one, why do you want to be anything less? Right? Okay. Another quality is when the interviewer with the professors asks this leader, these CEOs, what make you so successful? What was it that you did that made the company so successful? The answer was always something like, I don't know. I got lucky. And oh, I have good company. I have great people. These great people, they help me make this company really good. It's none of my credit. They don't take credit for themselves. They say, I got lucky. I got good people. They don't take credit for themselves. They don't go brag around and say, look at me. I made this company what it is today. None of these top level 5 leaders said that. And when the interviewer asked them, have you made mistakes? On the way to the of course you have a lot of challenges, you make some mistakes. What causes these mistakes? The answer is always, oh, this is my personal misjudgment. I should take the full blame for it. They never blame other people for what went wrong. They don't blame the people who they work with, who work for them. They don't blame them. They only blame themselves. This is very Buddhist. So it's a good book. It's not a Buddhist book at all. But then, when you become really, really top in something, I think there are common qualities. There are common qualities that go across fields. They're just simple truth of the world. But we should also understand, not everybody knows how to be a good leader. In fact, most people probably don't know how to be a good leader. Most people probably don't know how to be a good parent either. But they struggle, they try. I mean, they try. They try.
Mm.
So, so if this triggers you, just think like this. Why do you expect people to be good leader? Why do you expect people to be good leaders? A reasonable expectation would be that most people are not good leaders. But if you know this, then you can improve yourself. Okay? Starts from inside. Can you be such a leader to your children or to your juniors? Okay? When someone hurt animals, yes, we can feel easy to have sympathy for cute little animals, right? Just because humans are smarter and more skillful than animals, doesn't mean we have the right to hurt them. But surprisingly, many people think that way. I was talking to a person many years ago about why do you think it's justified that we eat meat? Farm animals. And he was telling me because it's a reasonable contract. We feed them, we keep them, we keep them alive, we feed them, we grow them, and so they give us their meat, they give us their flesh.
Mm.
And he was really serious. He was serious about that. About that this is a fair deal. But is it? When people state falsehood as truth, when people don't keep their promise, yeah, that's hard, right? How about ourselves? Have we did that before? Have we kept falsehood as truth? Did we ever believe in something that only later that we found out it was not true? Did we believe in something that we thought it was true and we insist that it's true? But then later on, maybe years later, I found out, oh, that's not true. Did we do that? I know I have. Also, when people don't keep their promises, yeah. Again, it'd be really great if people keep their promises. But then why do we expect people to keep their promises? The world would be a lot better, right? If people keep their promises. But then reality is, it happens quite frequently, right? We ourselves, we have broken promises too. Or if you have not broken promises yourself, is it reasonable to demand others to keep their promises? Not right? Because why? Because people cannot control themselves, right? People cannot control their emotions. Yet a lot of people cannot control their emotions or habits. So think about this. What is a reasonable expectation of people? Trigger when people are rude and disrespectful to elderly. Yeah, that happens. People take advantage of elderly people or overpower elderly people because they're weak. These are the cowards, right? My grandma, when she was dying, she was dying in a hospital bed. She kept her money, paper money, under her pillow in the hospital bed because she's afraid. She's afraid that people will take them in the hospital, and then they were stolen. They were stolen. So, this kind of things happen. People take advantage of senior people. The name of the book is From Good to Great. From Good to Great. It's a good book. I recommend it. When I'm tired, my body and mind exhausted, I have difficulty to be patient. Sure. Yeah. When you're tired, take a break from people. Take a break from people so you don't have to deal with them. Give yourself the time. It's okay. I recommend that everybody arrange their schedules so that they can be alone. They don't have to deal with people. I think you'll be healthier that way. In fact, I could recommend people to take 1 month off every year just to be alone and face yourself. Of course, a lot of people say they cannot do that. They don't have the vacation. They don't have the, well, it's an effort, but if you do it, you will really benefit from it. Take a month off to be alone. By alone, I mean, don't bring books to read. Don't watch TikTok or YouTube. Don't read the news. Be alone like a solitary retreat. All right? Be alone. Don't take in new information. Face your sixth consciousness and whatever comes out of your eighth consciousness. Deal with it. You will learn so much about yourself. And you will have so much insights. And some of the times will be difficult. But this is really part of waking up. If you cannot do it for 1 month, then 2 weeks. If you cannot do it for 2 weeks, then 1 week. Great leaders know when to follow. That's a really good point. Great leaders know when to follow. A great leader is not great because they know everything. A great leader is great because they know to take advice from the real experts. We have to run rehearsals which require a small team of people, each with a specific function, yet all interdependent. All too often, and after having asked for as much advance notice as possible as multiple times, and if not a sudden emergency, we receive notice from some key participant indicating that he or she cannot make it. The message received literally minutes before rehearsals is scheduled to begin and way too late to let the others know. As a result, other participants arrive. Some have driven long distance only to find out that we are unable to practice. Pretty disrespectful of others' time. Yeah, there are people who does that. You promise to be together, part of the team, to do a rehearsal together, and then at the last moment, you cancel, right? Of course, there are a lot of reasons for a person to do that. One of them is not notify people ahead of time. That happens. If this happens frequently, then we need to lower expectation of people. Lower expectation of people is not giving up on people. It's just, becoming in touch with reality. And another thing is, when that happens, we need to be flexible, right? Need to be flexible and then modify the plan to do some exercise rehearsal that you can still do with the existing people. I brought an injured hummingbird this evening. I hope she survives so we can take her to the rehab tomorrow. Maybe Shifu can send some blessings. Sure, we can give some blessings to the hummingbird and other animals who are suffering today. Dedication. Social injustice. There's always going to be social injustice because there's always going to be people who want to take advantage of other people when they can. If you look at the history of civilization, is a history, a lot of it is a history of powerful nations taking advantage of other nations. Powerful people taking advantage of other people. This never ends. The root of that is greed, anger, and ignorance. Greed, anger, ignorance. So unless we are able to get rid of the greed and anger, ignorance in people, this kind of thing will never end. You cannot end social injustice or any kind of injustice with laws, with formal government, with moral commands. Not even with family education or it's only when all of us look into our mind and get rid of the greed and anger, ignorance within ourselves first, that we can begin to affect people one by one. When there's greed, anger, ignorance in people, injustice will never end. War will never end. Okay? So that's why ultimately the Buddhist path is the path that we hope everyone to take. Okay, our time is up. Let us conclude the class with a dedication. First, we'll make our own dedication. May the merits of our studying the Dharma together be dedicated to all the participants, all of you, and all of your family and friends, and everyone in the world, as well as all the animals, especially the suffering people, the suffering animals, and sentient beings who are suffering in hell as hungry ghosts. May they have a chance to be healed, to be reborn as human beings, and then have a chance to encounter the Dharma and embark on the path of enlightenment. May we make progress in our practice, and may there be peace in the world. May we are able to get rid of our greed and anger and ignorance within ourselves, develop our wholesome roots and all the wholesome factors, Okay, we'll see you next week. Sunday morning meditation and the next week in class. That will be the last class, right? For this session. Okay? See you next time.
Palms together. We thank Jiahhu Shifu with 3 half bows.
1 half bow to the Buddha.
阿弥陀佛。
Okay, see you all next time.